got to Perek Vav Pasuk Chav Hey. Okay, we're going through the names. And then just one point over here, because then we're going to get to a little bit of action today. In Perek Vav Pasuk Chav Zayin, what page is it? Vav Chav Vav on page 322. So it goes through the names of the. Remember we talked about yesterday about tracing the lineage of Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. And then in Pasuk Chav Vav, just an interesting statement. It says like this. Pick it up. It's about the middle of the page, right in the middle of the page. Pasuk Chav Vav on page 322. So the Torah says, "Who Aaron or Moshe? He is Aaron, or who is? It's a rough, because who is a word in Hebrew, which means who means him, but it could also have like a plural implication. Whereas in English you don't have that. It's more like they are Aaron and Moshe. That's how how did the Archer translate it? This was the Aaron and Moshe. See, even our school struggled with it. Who Aaron and Moshe? This was the Aaron and Moshe. Asher Amar Hashem lahem, who Hashem had said to them, Hotzios b'nei so meretz mitzrayim, Hotzivos lahem. Hashem should take out the Jewish people. Then the next pasuk says, Heim hamidabrim el Paro melech Mitzrayim. They are the ones speaking the Hotzios b'nei so mitzrayim. Who Moshe and Aaron? This is Moshe and Aaron. So the first pasuk says it's Aaron and Moshe, and the second pasuk says it's Moshe and Aaron. It reverses them, and it repeats it. It reverses them. So you take a look at Rashi over here. In Pasuk Chavav, who Aaron and Moshe? Right column, 6 lines, 5 lines from the bottom in Rashi. Who Aaron and Moshe? Asher Omar Hashem. Says Rashi. Everybody see that? Now, where I'm on. Did everybody see that in the right column, page 322 in Rashi, 5 lines from the bottom? Who Aaron and Moshe? Asher Omar Hashem. You see that? Mike, you got that? Yesh mekomos shemakdim Aaron Moshe. There are certain times the Torah puts Aaron ahead of Moshe. V'yesh mekomos shemakdim Moshe l'Aaron. There are certain times it puts Moshe before Aaron. Lomar lecha, to tell you sheshkulim ke'echad. They are equal. They're equal. Sometimes it says him and him. Sometimes it says him and Aaron and Moshe. Sometimes it says Moshe and Aaron. What's the obvious problem with saying they're equal? What's the obvious problem with saying they're equal? Why not?
Moshe is much greater.
Moshe is very good. George Orwell's equal. What was the expression? All men are equal, but some are more equal than others. Remember, that's a George Orwell. And what was that in? It was 1984. That's the one I didn't read. The other ones I didn't read either. Read the Cliff Notes. The other ones I read the Cliff Notes at least. Listen, it worked. Here I am. So. Some men are equal, all men are equal, but some are more equal than others. So here, it says Moshe and Aaron are equal, but the Torah itself says there never was a prophet like Moshe. It says that there was never anybody as humble as Moshe. Moshe is the one who brought down them. Moshe was the one who was appointed. Moshe. It's even called Torah's Moshe. So how can the Torah say that they're equal? How does the Torah say they're equal? The answer is that there's objective and there's subjective. That means objectively from a human perspective, you take a look at, Rav Moshe Feinstein and Rav Chaim Kanievsky and other people are not equal to them. They're greater from a human perspective, they're greater. But God grades us on the level of potential that we have fulfilled. And it's not a person's fault if he's not born like Moshe Rabbeinu. If a person's born like Moshe Rabbeinu, so you're Moshe Rabbeinu, but then you have to fulfill your potential as Moshe Rabbeinu. If somebody's born as an absolute drop-dead genius, who's got a photographic memory, and every page of Shas that he looks at, he knows Shas like the first pasuk of Kriya Shema. So it's not my fault that I don't have a photographic memory. But whatever memory I do have, that I have to maximize my memory for Torah. He's maximizing his memory for Torah. I have to maximize my memory. You have to maximize your potential. So Moshe, nobody was born with it. Moshe maximizes potential. Aaron maximizes potential. In that regard, the Mefarshim say, in that regard, they're obviously equal. In prophecy, they're not equal. They're clearly not equal because Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah says there was no prophet like Moshe Rabbeinu. And there's no humble person in the world like Moshe Rabbeinu. But each person has the ability to maximize his potential. That's what the Torah wants. My wife once once asked me why I don't remember Gemara like I remember sports. The problem, isn't it? It's a problem. It's a problem. Boy, do I remember sport. That's a problem. And if you have a memory, so it could be a person will argue, yeah, because this, sports is, whatever your argument is, you have to memorize. Each person has to memorize maximize their potential. She once put a clip. I see this clip on my desk from the Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest used to have decent stories. It was a decent magazine with decent stories. Now it's a garbage like all the other magazines. But now you have to have some good stories. The Reader's Digest. So I look on my desk. So the story, it's a little story. One of these they had the page of all in America. American interest. So some guy's taking a bath and his wife's standing by the door. She says, "Tom, what were what's his name? Don Mattingly's numbers in 1985?" So the guy's like, "Wow, my wife's interested in baseball. That's great. Well, he had 25 home runs. He batted 331, 137 RBI, something like that." She goes, "How come you can remember that, but you can't remember to take the garbage when I ask you?" So I said to my wife, "This is a great story. I'm going to use it. You should." My wife says to me, "Take the garbage, dummy." It's okay. I got her because I made her memorize the Bulls starting team in the 90s when they won. She had to know. She knows everybody. Sure, her favorite player was Pippen, but I made her memorize that. They had to memorize the whole team. She knew the whole team, the starting team anyway. All right. Now take a look. What they won? They won about 14 times in the 90s, right? Take a look at Perik Zayin Pasuk Aleph. Okay, here we go. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. 3 lines from the bottom. Now the action is going to start. I have made you a lord over Paro. This word Elohim does not mean God. I've made you a master over Paro. Sometimes you find the word Elokim, which is referring to Hashem's name, and sometimes you find it Elohim. Like over here, we're allowed to say it because over here it does not mean, it's not the Kedusha. It means like the Beis Din, the judges, a court, a Jewish court is called the Elohim. As opposed to Elokim, when you're referring to God, then we can't say the name because it's God's name. So Hashem says to Moshe, "Look, I've made you a master over Paro." How does he? He translates master. How do you like that? Ve'aron achicha yeh neviecha. He will the one who will speak to you for you. Ata tetzave, ata tedaber. Oh, I skipped. No wonder I got the wrong pasuk. I'm looking where I wrote it down the wrong place. That happens. I must have been watching sports. Take a look. 4 lines from the top. Sorry. So after Hashem sends him, Vayomer Moshe lifnei Hashem. 4 lines from the bottom. Sorry, 4 lines from the bottom. Page 322. Sorry, I got you all mixed up, guys. Page 322, 5 lines from the bottom. This is where the final sending is. Hashem says to Moshe, go, go, go. Vayomer Moshe's got one more objection. Vayomer Moshe lifnei Hashem. Hein ani aral svasayim. I've got a speech impediment. Ve'ech yishma elai Paro. How is Paro going to listen? So yesterday we started speaking about the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu, the neshama, is hovering above. Okay. But I saw one of the Farshim says like this, that, if Paro is Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come in, why does Moshe have to be, why does he need the speech impediment? Moshe Rabbeinu, and why won't Paro listen? So yesterday we gave a couple of explanations. But at the end of the day, how did Moshe Rabbeinu get the speech impediment? Because when he was a baby, he was on Paro's lap, and he reached up for the crown, and he pulled it off and put it on his own head. So one of the advisors said to him, "You better kill him. That's the Jewish Redeemer. Get rid of him. That's a sign. He knows what he's doing." The other advisor said, No, he's just a tot, and he doesn't. He's just playing because it's shiny. So they brought the test. They bring out the coals and the gems, and Moshe Rabbeinu reaches for the gems, and the Malach pushes his hand over, and he takes the coal, he burns his mouth. And so one of the advisors is saying, "Listen, I'm telling you, kill the kid." And Paro says, No, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. Now all of a sudden he comes back, and Moshe Rabbeinu is 80 years old now, and he comes back to Paro, and he's talking like this, and he says, "Who are you?" He said, "Remember, I was the kid sitting on your lap, right? And you decided I'm not the Redeemer. That is the worst pain of all for Paro. Because then Paro's going to be sitting there, why didn't I kill him? Why? It's worse than plagues, worse than frogs, worse than the first part. The worst thing is sitting there going, whoa, why didn't I kill him when I could have? That's torture for Paro right there. Number one. That's the biggest torture. I know a guy, he was a cousin, he was invested in a startup. Then he pulled out because it wasn't doing so good. Then it turned out to be Amazon. Yeah. He hasn't had a night's sleep since then. Yeah. Can you imagine? Why did I stay in? I hold on the question for a while. I could have stayed in. Why didn't I? Why did I? I could have done it. And I should have, and I would have, and I could have. That's torture for a lot of people. That's what unfortunately say. So Paro has to live now with the fact that you yourself had a chance to kill this guy and you blew it. Number one. Number two, probably more difficult, is admitting you made a mistake. Paro's got to admit, hey, I made a mistake, boys. You ever hear a lot of politicians get up and say, I made a mistake? That you don't hear. There are other politicians saying that about the first politician. He's a mistake. You never hear the guy saying, I made a mistake. That's a very hard thing for a king to get up and do, and say, I made a mistake. Torah leaders never have a problem saying, I made a mistake. I've been in a Shiur, in a Gemara class. You sit down and somebody asks a question, and the Rabbi says, you know what, I made a mistake. So what? We have people make mistakes in life all the time. We have no problem admitting our mistakes. So you made a mistake, so what? It's okay, next time you'll do better. Paro has to get up now and make a mistake. Admit, that's torture for him. Okay, so now HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends them. And take a look at Perek Zayin, Posuk Zayin. Okay, they come to Paro, and then it says like this. Vayas Moshe va'Aaron, page 324, 7 lines from the top, 6 lines from the top. Vayas Moshe va'Aaron kasher tziva Hashem osam kein osu, u'Moshe ben shmonim shana, Moshe was 80, ve'Aaron ben shalosh u'shmonim shana b'dabram el Paro. Moshe was 80, Paro was 83 when they start their career. So first of all, there was no mandatory retirement at 65 in those days. You imagine if there was mandatory retirement, they get their pension and the Jewish people stay in Egypt forever because there's nobody to redeem them. So I guess, to take the food out of the room, please. It's not respectful for Torah. Moshe is 80 and Aaron is 83 when they come to speak to Paro. Number one. Number two, people, have you ever wondered how's Mashiach? All the Mashiach business. Does Mashiach know he's Mashiach? Right? Does the Mashiach know that he's the Mashiach? Well, maybe you're the Mashiach. Now, could you be the Mashiach? How do you know if you're the Mashiach or not? Anybody? I know I'm not. I know for sure I'm not. You know how I know? Huh? I'm a Kohen, right? I could be Eliyahu Navi. Right? And if you pay me, I'll tell you in case you're wondering. Right? I'll tell you. I'm sure you're wondering about that, right? Yeah, it's my Eliyahu Navi. It could be. Never know. Put some money on the table. We'll all find out. So, but I can't be Mashiach because I'm a Kohen. Who is Mashiach? We always picture Mashiach, he's just kind of a guy. He's just going to come striding in. Okay, boys, I'm here. Stick with me, guys. We'll take you to the promised land. We don't know. But did Moshe Rabbeinu know it was him? At what age did Moshe Rabbeinu find out that he's the Redeemer? He was 80. He was 80. He was living all those years. There's a medrash that he was the king. There's a medrash that he was the king of a place called Cush, which we call Ethiopia. The medrash says he was in Cush for 40 years. He didn't know he was the Redeemer. One day he's at the burning bush. He's out. He was a shepherd. He's a shepherd. Okay, he worked on himself. The commentaries say that he specifically went out to very desolate places so he could meditate, so he could get closer to Hashem. But he didn't know that he's Redeemer. One day, Akash Roy gets a vision. It's you, Cab. Right? You're the man. Right? You're the man. You're sitting there learning the Gemara, and all of a sudden, by the way, if any of you get a vision, let me know. Let me know, because you didn't. But at the end of the day, he didn't know. How did he know? As the Chassam Sofer says, in every generation, there's somebody with the potential to be the Mashiach. And if the rest of the Jewish people would be deserving, that person would get the tap on the shoulder and say, okay, take him out, bring the final redemption. But at the end of it, we don't know. What is interesting is that, if you'd asked somebody 500 years ago, or 300 years ago, there's going to be a Mashiach, the whole world's going to find out about it. How can the whole world find out, what communication was like in those days? Even Shabtai Tzvi, who was the false Messiah, Shabtai Tzvi, I don't know if you've heard of him, the false Messiah in the 17th century, there was a lot of confusion. Is he? Is he isn't? And there was still, he was in Constantinople, where was he? Constantinople, and there were coming people from Holland until one of the Rabbanim from Holland was the one who blew the cover off of him. And it was very, very, very hazy because they didn't have good communication. Nowadays, the Mashiach shows up. We have no problem understanding and relating to the concept that the entire world can know about it in a second, in an instant. So you see that sometimes there are prophecies in the Torah, there are ideas where we can't possibly relate to it. And I'll say, we could relate to it. Also, not so difficult. Nowadays, the world knows everything immediately now, a lot more than they should. So we don't have any problem with it. But one thing is clear, the Mashiach is here right now. But he himself doesn't know it, because he has not gotten the tap on the shoulder. And if we're good, he could be revealed, and if we're not good. But one thing, it also doesn't say that there's any sort of advertising campaign for him. Putting out bumper stickers that we want Mashiach doesn't help. We don't have any tradition of putting out advertising and bumper stickers and that sort of thing. And frankly, I never even understood who those bumper stickers are for. Is it for people or is it for God? But say that God should be the bumper stickers, or that other people in the car behind you should see the bumper sticker. Have you ever seen anybody stop their car and say, "Wow, I'm a believer. There's a bumper sticker." And there's a guy out of his car. Wow, give me tefillin. I believe you because there's a bumper sticker. I've never seen that. So we don't have any tradition for that. I was once in a car. A guy was driving me from a talk somewhere in a different city in Israel. So this guy is driving me home, kind of like more of a settler type of guy, and we pass under the bridge, and there's a big banner on the bridge that say Ha'am im HaGolan, the nation is with the Golan Heights. Apparently there was some talk about giving back parts of the Golan, Ha'am im HaGolan. So this guy says to me, he's driving, he says to me, "Do you know I'm part of a group, we've put up over 200 of those stickers on bridges. We've put up over 200 of those banners on bridges in the country." It took all my power of self-control and gentlemanly behavior to not just look at him and say, "So?" What is that? What do you think that's going to accomplish? Considering that the Israelis, the decision is going to be made in the White House anyway, and the White House doesn't really care about bumper stickers on bridges because the Israeli government is helpless. They got their hands tied anyway. So what's the point? And I'm just thinking to myself, what? You'd have done a much better for yourself and for Klal Yisrael by going to a Daf Yomi Shiur instead of climbing on bridges, endangering yourself at that height, putting up silly posters or whatever it is you put up. That's what the Torah is teaching you over here. Okay. Now, take a look at Pasuk Tes. Now they come to Paro. V'yomer Hashem al Moshe v'Aaron lemor, ki yedaber aleichem Paro. When Paro speaks to you, 324, lemor, tenu lachem mofes. Do a, how does the article translate it? Provide a wonder. A mofes means like a miracle. Do a miracle. Now, why does it say tenu lachem mofes? Do a miracle for yourselves. When Paro says to you, do a miracle for yourselves. Really, what should it say? Do a miracle for me. You're coming in claiming Paro. Logically, if they're coming in and saying to Paro, God said you should send us out. Oh yeah, do me a miracle. That's what Paro should have really said. And God says he's going to say to you, do yourselves a miracle. Why do you a miracle? Do me a miracle, right? You understand the problem? So, what's the answer? Anybody got an answer? Why is Paro going to say, do a miracle for yourselves? Paro's going to say, the implication, he's going to say to you, you guys yourself don't believe this. Go do a miracle for yourself. I don't believe it, you don't believe it, and I know that you don't believe it. And you know that I know that you know they don't believe it. None of us believe it. You're telling me about a God who said that. Come on, you don't believe it. Do a miracle. Let's see you do a miracle for yourself. Take your staff. Throw it down, it'll be turned into a serpent. Throw your staff down and turn it into a snake. Why a sign of a snake? Why is it a sign of a snake? So one of the ideas, anybody, what's a snake? What is a sign of a snake? Any connection here? What do you make the connection of snake to Paro? The first sign that they're going to do in Pharaoh, they're going to walk into the palace, throw down a staff, and the staff's going to turn into a snake. Then what's the story? How's the story going to unfold? Pharaoh's going to say, oh, big deal. We can match that. He's going to have his advisors throw down their staffs also, turn into snakes too. Then Aaron's staff is going to turn back into his snake will turn back into a staff. Theirs will turn back into a staff, and then his staff is going to swallow their staffs. That's the story, how the story unfolds. So, by the way, Pharaoh's going to, when he throws it down, a big deal. And there's a medrash he called in children. He says, you're bringing witchcraft to Egypt? There used to be say you're bringing coal to Newcastle. It's like bringing snow to Canada. We're going to import some snow to Canada or crocodiles to Florida. These are things that they're rich with or annoying fans to Philadelphia. Right, we've got plenty of those. We don't need any more. I think we're impressed. Witchcraft in Egypt. So he calls in a bunch of. They throw down their staffs, and then Aaron swallows their up. At that point, Pharaoh stop laughing. That's pretty impressive, especially because Aaron's had turned back into a staff already. But why a snake? Why the whole test? What's the idea of a snake? So there are two ideas here. Number one, three ideas. Pharaoh spoke. Who's Hashem? He used his mouth. Who's the first one in history who said, who's Hashem? The snake in the Garden of Eden. This is like, wait a minute, you eat the fruit, you'll be like God. Wait, you got to worry about God? You be like God. Pharaoh himself said, who's Hashem? Who's God? Who's me, Hashem? Number one. Number two, a snake is the only, in the curse, the original curse to the snake, it says he's going to eat dirt. Snakes don't eat dirt. Snakes don't eat dirt. What do they eat? The curse is you're going to eat dirt. But what do snakes eat? Mice. None of you are snake people? Right. They eat mice, rodents. But how do they eat them? Swallow. Right. They just swallow them whole. Never seen the pictures of a snake, you can see it going down the snake's gullet. There's no chewing for a snake. There's no eating. But when we eat, part of the pleasure of eating is chewing. Yeah. There's different parts of the play. There's chewing. Oh, you know how to chew. I don't have to demonstrate. Yeah, it's like if people say, well, I called my friend the other day. Yeah, I know what a telephone is. People always do that. Very annoying habit, by the way. I'm making a public protest. I never say, oh, I was eating dinner the other day. And I don't have to, and even Rabbi Salinger once I said, oh, can I have a key? He said to me, which key do you, I know how a key works. There's certain things we do that. I never said to you, well, I had spaghetti last night. Every people always do this. They always do with the phone. Where you talk into your finger. Why are you doing that? So maybe we'll have an influence on the rest of the world. They'll stop this annoying habit. It's terrible. That and drugs. I'm telling you, those are the problems we have to face. So he says the snake, when he eats, has no pleasure. What were the Jewish people doing? In Egypt? Remember we were talking about the Avodas Perach. They're building these pyramids and they're sinking into the ground. The Egyptians didn't get any benefit out of it. It was just making them suffer and work for the sake of working and suffering. So the snake is a symbol of the one who eats. He doesn't have even any pleasure from the eating. And when he bites, the Gemara says that in the future, God's going to confront the snake. Why did you bite people? A lion kills its prey and enjoys it. What do you call it? Animals, they kill a dog, he enjoys it. What pleasure do you get biting people? Snakes bite for the sake of biting. So the snake's going to turn around and say, yeah, what about people who speak Lashon Hara? What pleasure do they get? The snake becomes the prosecutor of people who speak Lashon Hara. People disparage other people. What pleasure do you get by disparaging other people? Okay, there's obviously we wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it. But it's not a real pleasure. It's more of an internal rot that we need to put other people down. So the snake becomes the prosecutor for that. That's what it means, the snake. But he also gets no pleasure when he eats. So the Egyptians got no pleasure from the Jewish people. The other thing is that a snake he himself is all curly. And when he moves along, snakes kind of slither along and go. And Pharaoh himself is a snake, meaning that you're constantly changing direction. That Pharaoh kept saying, yeah, I'll send them out. I won't send them. I send them out. No, I change my mind. I send them out. I change my mind. I send them out. I change my mind. He's ready to get married. I send them out. I change my mind. I send them out. I change my mind. He changes his mind. It's a prerogative to change her mind. As they say, a woman's prerogative to change her mind. And by the way, the fastest way to get a woman to change her mind, you know what it is? I saw you should pay me for this one, Jack. Fastest one for you get fastest one piece of advice. Agree with her. That's right. Fastest way to change your mind is agree with her. Right? You'll appreciate when you're married, boys. If I said, I think we should get a new couch. Yeah, you know what? We really should. No, it's a waste of money. Couldn't work again. Yeah. If you start arguing, it's going to cost you a pile. Just say yes. Stick with me, boys. That's as far as, okay, now, take a look at Pasuk Yud Aleph. This is great. Vayikra, so he comes in, and he throws down the stake. Take 5 lines of the bottom. Vayavo Moshe v'Aaron al Paro v'yasu chen kasher tziva Hashem. Vayaslech Aaron es mateu lifnei Paro. Aaron throws down the staff, 3 lines from the bottom. V'lifnei avoda vayilu sanin. It turns into a snake. Vayikra gam Paro lachachamim v'lemechashvim. Vayasu gam heim chartu me mitzrayim b'latem. They did the same thing. With their magic, their sorcery, they threw down their sticks, and it became snakes also. Vayashlichu ish ba'ateo vayilu taninim vayivla mate Aaron es matosav. Then, when it switched back to his staff, Aaron's staff swallowed him up. V'yachazek leiv Paro v'lo shama alim kasher, but Paro's heart was hardened, and he didn't obey. He says, "I'm not going to send out the Jewish people." Now, question: why did he do something that the sorcerers could match? Why did he do something that the sorcerers could match? Why? I mean, you could have started out by splitting the sea. Why did he do something dafka that they couldn't match? That they could match.
Sure, maybe that's even though they do like kind of the same thing as Aaron and Moshe. Like when Aaron and Moshe does it, it's like way better.
Way better. Okay, that certainly shuts him up. Paro, could you imagine? He could just see on TV, Paro's laughing, I'm not intimidated, look at this, and his boys also throw down the, oh. Right? And all of a sudden he stops because the staff swallows up his staff. You've seen that type of skit a million times. Like he's laughing, and all of a sudden it's not so funny. But why let them do it to begin with? Why let them even match it to begin with? The answer is that you ever hear people say, I could do it if I really wanted to. I don't feel like doing it. The sorcerers, Paro could say, listen, we're not impressed. Oh yeah, do it. I don't have to do it. We could do it if we want to. Yeah, so first they kind of, what's it called? They hustle them. It's a hustle over here. They kind of con them in. They say, watch this. Oh, we could do that. Boom. Yeah. Then, okay, how about this one? Yeah, we could do that too. Then you get to the third one. Okay, let's see you there. That one they can't do. They can't say, well, we want to, because every time you want, we got you to do it, you did it. This you obviously can't do. So what would happen to you if we would go out and shoot 3-pointers back in the day? I would take you out first to the top of the key. Then you'd go out and you could match me. That's great. Then I'd take you out a little further. You can match me. Good. Now you've said. Then I'd take you out to the twilight zone. And then what happened? Well, how come you're not shooting now? Ooh, yeah. There's some beef over here right now. But he's from Philadelphia. The what do you call it? But you said, oh, here you did it, and here you did it. Now all of a sudden you can't do it. Don't tell me that you could if you want to, because all along you wanted to and you did it. That's what the hustle over here. That was the hustle. I used to have a shootout with a guy. His nickname was the Outer Limits. I was Twilight Zone. And we were way, way, way out. Not during a game, of course. But no one hit during the game. But we never missed outside the game. We were that was good. That was good. But that was a long time ago, boys. That was a long time. Now I can't even shoot on Nerf. Okay. Now, take a look at Pasuk Tesvav. Comes the blood. So very interesting. The Medrash says, page 326, 2 lines from the top. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Kaved Lev Paro, Paro's heart is hardened, Me'en l'shalach ha'am. You see where it is? 2 lines from the top, page 326. Lech, now this is pretty amusing. Lech el Paro baboker, go to Paro in the morning, Hine yotze amayma, he's going out to the water. Why is Paro going out to the water early in the morning? Because he wants to relieve himself. They used to relieve themselves in the Nile. Paro wanted to show that he's some sort of deity. So no one ever saw him relieve himself. He used to go early in the morning in the pitch dark where no one could see him. That's when he would relieve himself. So first of all, what is his agenda by doing that? There's a certain agenda that he has. If you don't go to the bathroom, I guess you're a deity. There's an idea over here he's communicating that he can take in, but he doesn't have to let out. Meaning, anybody who's a slave in this country, I control you. I've taken you in, but I'm not going to let you out. There's no escaping here. There's a place where I bring in, but I don't let out. Symbolically, I control your fate, your destiny. You're locked in Egypt. That means anytime the Torah tells us these things, there's always a depth to it. It's not just a guy playing a game, number one. So he's showing himself to be a deity, that he doesn't have human needs like everybody else. But that itself is strange, because he does have human needs. He eats, everybody sees him eating, and everybody sees, and he's got several wives. Obviously he's got human needs. So why is it that specifically not relieving yourself turns you into a deity? So there's an idea over here that I'm flawless. Relieving ourselves is a flaw. We have to get rid of the waste material. I don't have any waste material. I'm a deity. I do everything that you do, all the fun things, but I don't have any flaws. I'm flawless. I'm a deity. Okay, that's his agenda. So what happens? He goes out early in the morning to the Nile to go to relieve himself. It's pitch dark. No one's up. And it's the worst possible thing that could happen. You're bursting to go to the bathroom. Has ever happened to you? You're bursting to go to the bathroom, and just then there's a knock at the door, or the telephone rings. Hey, and by the way, the halacha, you're not allowed to speak in the bathroom. Most of you, I've been in bathrooms, I've been in public bathrooms where you hear guys, I have a whole conversation in there. You got guys conducting his business from the bathroom. I've heard guys, a whole conversation. But according to halacha, you're not allowed to talk in the bathroom. You don't talk in the bathroom. And unless you need something, you could call if you need some help or assistance. But you don't have a guy. I heard people talking, guys sitting in the bathroom talking to his boss, talking to his wife, talking to running, conducting his whole. You don't do that. So Pharaoh's bursting to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, what happens? V'nitzavta likroso al sfas hayor. Now, v'nitzavta, we've had this word before. It doesn't mean you should walk towards him at the edge. He hasn't even gotten into the water yet. It doesn't mean that you walk towards him. Nitzavta is you're walking with confidence. Meaning that I fully expect, it's not like, what a coincidence. We happened to be out in the morning also, and we saw you. We just happened to see you, but run into you. V'nitzavta likraso, you clearly were coming towards him at this moment, knowing he would be here now. Now, how could Moshe Rabbeinu possibly know that? How could Moshe Rabbeinu possibly know that Pharaoh goes out in the morning at the spot that he goes? Nile's a big place. How does Moshe Rabbeinu know right then and right there? That's a sign that Moshe Rabbeinu has been sent by God. V'nitzavta likraso, number one. Number two, if you stop a guy who's got to go to the bathroom, most people get very reasonable at that point. Yeah, anything you want, just say, yeah. Did you want to sell your shirt? Yeah, here, take it. Just take it. I got to go. Oh, very reasonable. He's bursting. And most of them, hi, how you doing, sir? Yeah, fine. Yeah. He probably drags it out a little bit. How's the wife and kids? And Pharaoh, the one thing he wants to do is dive into the Nile. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay, Hashem is telling me to say, and if you don't listen to me, Ko Amar Hashem, Pasuk Yud Zayin. 9 lines on the top. Ko Amar Hashem, Bezos Teida Ki Ani Hashem. This is, you're going to know that I'm God. Hine Anochi Makeh B'mata Asher B'yodi Al Hamayim Asher B'Yaor. I'm going to hit with the staff. V'nefchu L'dom. And it is going to turn to blood. Now, if you take a look at Pasuk, where is it? 1 second. Where's the double? Where is it? Oh yeah, in Pasuk Yud Tes. 2 more psukim. V'hadoga asher b'yaori tamus, the fish are going to die. Uva, one of the reasons they're going to die is to show that it's that a fish, if it will. Why do the fish have to die? Why do the fish have to die? Moshe Rabbeinu makes this clear, the fish are going to die. So one of the reasons it says that when they threw the Jewish babies into the Nile, the fish ate them. So it was a punishment for the fish. Okay, that's a medrash. But here it's for Paro's benefit. See, what kind of water is? Well, let's see in a second. You know what? Let's see in a second. The fish are going to die. The Yaor, the Nile, is going to be putrid. The Egyptians are going to make an effort to drink, and it's not going to work. And one more pasuk, gentlemen. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. Pay attention carefully. Emor al Aaron, say to Aaron, Kach matcha u'ntei yodcha al meimei Mitzrayim. Take your staff and stretch it on the waters of Egypt. Pay attention very carefully. Al naharosam, their rivers. Al yoreim, their streams. Val agmeim, their pools of water. Val kol mikvei meimeim v'yudam. Aaron's going to take his staff and he's going to point in all directions so that Paro can't say it's a coincidence. He's going to take his staff and he's going to hold his staff up and he's going pointing everywhere. All bodies of water. The Yudam, now pay attention carefully, they shall be blood. The Hayadam, and it will be blood, B'chol Eretz Mitzrayim, Ba'etzim B'va'avonim, in the stones, in the wood and in the stone utensils. Question number one, Yitz. It says they will be blood. The Hayadam, and it will be blood. Why is it repeated? Why is it double terminology? The Yu blood, there will be blood. The Hayadam. Why is it a double terminology? Number one. Number two, take a look at Rashi for a second. Rashi says, Be'etzu b'avanim, all the water, the last line of Rashi, the left column. Be'etzu b'avanim, in the wood and in the stones, Mayim shebekli etzu v'kli even. The water in the utensils is going to turn to blood. I know Rashi already told us of the Torah itself says, all of the bodies of water in Egypt can turn to blood. So why does he have to repeat? Number one. Number two, why'd the fish die? So, the repeating over here, the Yudam, the Hayadam. Anybody got an idea? Why does the Torah repeat it? Why does it say, it will be the blood, and it would how does the Yashko translate it? Better, more precise English. They shall become blood, there shall be blood throughout the land. I don't know if it becomes blood, there will be blood throughout the land. You understand? Why do you need a double terminology here? The answer is, Moshe Rabbeinu wants to emphasize, Hashem wants him to emphasize to Paro, this isn't going to be red food coloring, which is why the fish have to die. If it's red food coloring, the fish could survive. Yeah, it's just red water. Red water is not a problem. Red water is not a problem. It's not going to be red water. It's going to be blood. And it's going to be the essence of blood, and the smell of blood, and the taste of blood, which fish obviously can't survive in. And that's why the Torah emphasizes, v'yu dam, it'll be blood. He has a problem, say, okay, it'll be some, imitation blood. No. The hayadam b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. It's going to be actual, literal blood all through Egypt. Which begs another question. Well, if you have blood, now there's different opinions how long the plague lasted. There's one opinion that the warning was for 7 days, that the warning was for 3. He warned him for 3 weeks on each plague, and then the plague itself was 7 days. There's another opinion, there was 7 days of warning, and then 3 weeks of plague. But either way you cut it over here, if there's blood for 7 days, what are the Egyptians going to do for liquid? What are they going to do what are they going to do for drinking? So that the Medrash says, right? They had to buy water from the Jews. The Jews had water. And so Jews sold water. Like nowadays, they sell water, bottled water. What a scam, right? You got some guy in a back room with a faucet, but turning on regular tap water and smacking on a label that from lake in Oregon or something, and everybody's buying it, just like sushi, right? They got some weed from Oregon, and so somebody got to dried out some lettuce in the backyard. That's wrapped it around over there, and they got us buying it, and they got you buying it, not me, and they got you buying it for 8 rolls of sushi for 99 shekels, right? Boy, what a bunch of clowns. So the Jews had water. And then it says in the Medrash that if the Jew had a cup of water and he put it in the hands of the Egyptian, it would turn to blood. The Egyptians would see the Jews as, hey, give me some of that stuff. So they give it to him and it immediately turns to blood. Then he gives it back to the Jew, turns to water. Now you see it, now you don't. The only way they could get water if they bought it from the Jews. Gee, I wonder what that cost. Hello, Anwar. Would you like some water? Cup of water. We've got special sale today, $9.99 per cup. 2 for $20. How do you like that, Anwar? And it says, the Medrash says the Jews got rich selling water. They got rich. I missed my calling. I should have been alive then. The Jews got rich selling water. Now, that's why it uses a double terminology. But I saw a phenomenal shot. One in the commentary says, have you ever heard of something called the 4 Yesodos, the 4 foundational building stones of the world? Fire, water, ruach, poorly translated as air, better translated as spirit, and uffer, which is dirt. Every one of us is made up of 4 components. We have some fire. So have you heard this concept? Fire, water, spirit, and dirt. Which is why when by Chayet, when Sarah Imenu dies, Vatoma Sarah Bekiryas Arba. Where did she die? She died in a place of Kiryas, called Kiryat Arba. You've been to Kiryat Arba, right? She died in a place called Kiryat Arba, but Kiryas Arba could also be understood as the severing of the 4. She died at the severing of the 4 Yesodos. When these fundamental building blocks separated, that's death. So the commentaries say there's a medrash that says when the Egyptians sat on a rock or on a stone, their clothing became, or slide down on a bed, their clothing became soiled with blood. Where was there blood in a stone? Where was there blood on a mattress? The answer is that the 4 building blocks, there's one of those building blocks is water. So that water, the water content of the stone, it's like nowadays when they advertise something, how much of it is water? Like meat. When you buy meat, frozen meat, so there's a certain amount of water, frozen water content, and they have to write how much of it is frozen water. Like 3% meat, 97% frozen water. But they have to write that number down on the bag. So there is a certain amount of water content in every single thing in creation. In this table, there's water content. That water content turned to blood. How do you like that? And so when the Mitzri sat down on a stone, or he sat down on a bed, so there was soilage. There was blood soilage, because that water had turned to blood. And that they had to survive. That was what he called, and the Medrash says that the Jewish people got rich. One last point. The entire plagues, this is, there are many different explanations why specifically these plagues. Dam, Tzfardeya, Kine, Marov, at the Pesach Seder, the 10 plagues. So the Medrash Tanchuma says, the reason Hashem brought these 10 plagues in the order that he brought them was that it's like a military campaign. And the way a military campaign works, when you're besieging, when you lay siege to a city, what's the first thing you do? You hit the water supply. Try to poison the water supply of the city, of the inhabitants, so they don't have water. You remember, you're the military surrounding them. You're the ones laying siege. First, you hit their water supply. Then come the trumpeters, making noise. The frogs, which is the second plague, we'll talk about that tomorrow, next day. Tomorrow there's not going to be a shiur, there's going to be, I think, a guest speaker. But on Wednesday, we'll talk. The frogs, one of the things that happened, the frog made a tremendous amount of noise. It drove you nuts. Just the noise drove you nuts. And now my daughters were in the house the other day talking, like, guys, you drive me nuts. Right, they're married too. I just said, like, come on, I'm trying to learn Shabbos morning, and all of a sudden they both came for a visit at the same time. Like, whoa, just like, stuck on automatic. I'm trying, couldn't hear myself think. The frogs are worse. All right, maybe, but then so you have trumpeters. The third plague is kinim, which is lice. So it's supposed to be like arrows that you're shooting over the wall that are stinging them. Then comes the wild animals, which is the mighty warriors who invade. And eventually it culminates with darkness, where the Egyptians can't move, which means you've imprisoned you put them in prison. And then makas bechoros is you execute the leaders. And the whole thing plays itself out like a military campaign. That's what the Medrash says. Okay, so that we'll see next time.